Now, for a review of what's making the headlines in the papers this morning, let's bring in Arise analyst, presenter, Dr. Constance Ikoku.
Morning,
Good
Benga.
morning again.
What's this laughter about?
No, I was just thinking at the moment when Nigerians should be opening their boxes for the Boxing Day, we got an airstrike from the U.S. It looks like the doomsday warning is finally unfolding.
Using the I don't know about that, but we'll get into that story. So let's look at the stories that are shaping the agenda for you. Hello there and welcome to the program. We begin with Leadership newspaper. Today's newspaper headlines are dominated by security and international cooperation news, with the federal government confirming that the U.S. forces conducted precision airstrikes on terrorist targets in northern Nigeria. Alongside this, our papers are also highlighting reactions to ongoing insecurity, including the recent attack in Maiduguri. There's continued local governance and socio-political developments, such as efforts to automate petroleum industry operations, plus other holiday season reports reflecting both public safety concerns and festive activities. Leadership leads with the Vice President Kashim Shettima, alongside northern governors, denouncing the Maiduguri mosque attack carried out by a Boko Haram suicide bomber. Analysts say new penalties in electoral law won't guarantee credible elections. That's another story. And the presidency has denied rumors that Chief of Staff Femi Gbajamila has been replaced. And Kaduna governor plans to list mining company on stock exchange. Moving on to Daily Sun, which reports on the People's Democratic Party dismissing President Tinubu's assurances on insecurity and religion during his Christmas goodwill message. Abia State takes over electricity regulation from National Electricity Regulatory Commission. And Christian Association of Nigeria, CAN, and Pentecostal Fellowship of Nigeria, PFN, have backed Israeli Prime Minister on calling for an end to killing of Christians in Nigeria. Punch newspaper this morning turns attention to the statement by President Donald Trump on the airstrikes in Nigeria. Punch provides in full Trump's quote on his Truth Social platform about this development. He said, and I quote, "Tonight, at my direction as Commander-in-Chief, the United States launched a powerful and deadly strike against ISIS terrorist scum in northwest Nigeria, who have been targeting and viciously killing primarily innocent Christians at levels not seen for many years, even centuries. I have previously warned these terrorists that if they did not stop the slaughtering of Christians, they will be held to pay, and tonight there was." End of quote. Let's move on to Daily Trust, which takes a different angle to the same story, reporting that U.S. War Secretary Pete Hegseth has thanked the Nigerian government for support in regard to airstrikes on terrorists in Sokoto, confirming President Trump's message on Truth Social about these strikes. Moving on to the international headlines this morning, The Independent newspaper, if we can pull that up. UK newspapers today strike a largely reflective and mixed tone, blending politics, royalty, social issues, and festive human interests. In The Independent, we're seeing a reader-funded initiative. Its audience helped raise £165,000 to establish a hotline for missing young people. We don't have that paper now, but if you do see that paper on the internet, there are faces of people that are missing. And especially at this time of Christmas, it is the hardest for families that are involved. Daily Telegraph reports a story about a teacher being referred to the government's counterterrorism program after showing Donald Trump videos in a U.S. politics class. The teacher in his 50s was accused of posing a risk to children after showing these videos, including one of Trump's inauguration to A-level students. Newspaper leads with political news, reporting that the UK is entering uncharted territory as Nigel Farage Reform UK and Zach Polanski's Green Party are putting fresh pressure on Labour ahead of the next general election. Daily Mirror leads with King Charles' Christmas message, focusing on his optimistic message about a more hopeful nation going forward. In Daily Star, it features a celebrity family angle with a front page story about a supposed Beckham family feud, and details of how they spent Christmas. The Times newspaper reports on housing and taxation concerns, warning that tens of thousands of homeowners may face a potential mansion tax if their properties are deemed overvalued. The Guardian newspaper highlighted research suggesting that shared parental leave policies in the UK are failing to deliver the promised culture change even 10 years after their introduction. Now let's break down what these stories mean for everyday citizens. Returning to Leadership newspaper, Vice President Kashim Shettima spoke on Borno bomb blast. He said the mosque attack will not break Nigeria's resolve, and the federal government will not tolerate any attempt to undermine the peace of the nation. He told Nigerians that the federal government is deploying additional tactical teams to the area to track down and apprehend those responsible for the attack. He added, and I quote, "The federal government will not tolerate any attempt to undermine the peace and security of our nation. Our security agencies are working round the clock to ensure that the perpetrators of this heinous crime are brought to justice immediately." End of quote. Benga, is this bomb blast a challenge to the recent frenetic efforts at curbing this problem?
So let me get it clearly. the bomb blast in Gambaro Market Mosque, okay, it's rather unfortunate that we've seen this mindless killing again. A suicide bomber from the investigation released by the Security Command in Maiduguri, and the residents say they've not seen this in some years before now, and it's quite disturbing that this is coming. So we're seeing a resurgence of suicide bombing, and that's not good enough. So it means that the government should realize that security task is should be a sustained exercise. It is not something that you go, you launch and you retreat. It's something that you must uphold the safety of anywhere that you've been able to secure. So it's a continuous exercise, governance, because Section 14 says the security and the welfare shall be the primary responsibility of the government. So when you see a situation like this, Maiduguri in the past has been a volatile area. It's not an area that you should go back to rest. And considering the fact that it's a border area to other countries, it's a border country, it exposes that part of the country to security risk. So I think the government should have a sustained responsibility in that area.
Well, what the Vice President did in that remark is to acknowledge the tragedy, first of all, while reinforcing the commitment to security reform. Excuse me. And what he has said and the way that he put it matters. And why does it matter? It shows empathy, first of all, for the victims, while also shifting focus to ongoing improvements rather than defensive excuses. He could have been defensive, but he was not. So what are these improvements that we're talking about? We saw recently the president approving the recruitment of 50,000 policemen, the withdrawal of policemen from VIPs to be reassigned to core police duties. There's a security framework that was signed with the U.S. To cooperate on security. At the state level, we have the northern governors calling for a 6-month suspension in mining activities to allow cleaning out criminal elements and reissuing the licenses. Northern governors also setting up a regional security fund, among other things that are happening at the same time. All these things reinforce that increased, effort to make sure that insecurity is stopped. And also that increased manpower that is being recruited is part of larger strategy to prevent broader attacks. He also emphasized collaboration, intelligence, and local engagement of the people that live in those states. So this frames the response not just in terms of numbers, extra security or army, but also smarter community-based and intelligence-led security that addresses the root causes of the problem or the root threats. And so this approach resonates more with the public demand for effective protection. So now it's hope that this is not just talk, that at the end of the day we will actually see how this impacts security within the country.
Okay, Dr. Constance, we'll come back to the analysis, but for the very latest and what's happening on the ground, we are joined live on the line from Sokoto by our correspondent, Suleiman Nasiru. Suleiman?
Good morning, Mr. Gwega.
Yeah, we got this shocking news yesterday, more like a doomsday prediction of the airstrike from the U.S. Military Command. What's the situation like? What's the casualty figure and what's the volume of destruction?
Well, like I said, good morning. Good morning, Nigerian.
Good morning, Nasiru Suleiman.
Good morning for the people of Jabu, where the bomb landed last night. The people are sent into confusion and panic.
Go ahead, Nasiru.
Yeah, the panic, even though for now there is no record of casualty recorded because from the contact and ability to speak with people of that community, because the government is yet to issue a statement regarding that bomb blast. But from the contact I had there, talking with locals, so far so good. There haven't been any casualties recorded. We're still waiting or trying to reach to the government official to issue statement. But local says the bomb landed around 12 midnight last night, not in residential area, so there wasn't any casualty recorded so far. But actually, the community has been sent into panic and fear, and residents are really, really worried and disturbed. More so that the Borno Christmas Eve bomb blast was part of what make the loud explosion to cause panic among residents, and people are running helter-skelter, trying to run to safety because they can't tell what would happen next. I've been trying to reach out to the state government to make comment, but there wasn't any comment from them. Probably they are trying to get their act together before the issue statement. About 2 days before the blast in Jabu, there was a statement issued by the state government regarding a new initiative by the state government to curb banditry. It is even more disturbing that Jabu was not part of the area that was actually being that suffer consistent bandit attack in Sokoto. Jabu is in Sokoto South Senatorial District, where the people of that most communities in that local government, Luda Senatorial District, experience relative peace, except in Shagari and Kebe local government. In that axis, are used to have pockets of violence and attack, and that is why. This bomb blast in Jabu, this explosion in Jabu is surprising because people felt Jabu. The last time I heard of attack in Jabu was in 2018 when some bandit went to the community, kill and also adopt people. But for so far so good.
Nasiru, what more do you know about how this will impact terrorist activities not only in Sokoto but in the region?
I think this will send the fear into the camp of the terrorists, who even the local airstrike by our own internal security that has been upscale of recent has been sending fear to them. You see videos around where the terrorists are calling for dialogue. With this happening, I believe this will send fear and also a panic among the terrorists operating in the northwest, because they would now know that the American government is not this is not a mere threat. This is a real action, because I believe fear will be sent into the camp of the bandit and terrorists operating in that region. And those who are supporting them, they know that the Trump threat is not just a threat, but a real action, because what happened in Jabu yesterday has sent fear among people, not only in Jabu, not only in Sokoto, not only in Zamfara and Katsina, but in the entire northwest, and where insecurity has been an issue in the last 10 years.
Okay, Suleiman, this airstrike was described as a precision hit, driven by intelligence operations. Could you confirm to us if this actually hit the target, if there is any terrorist or Islamic State terrorist casualty involved in this?
From the information we gather from the locals, they made us understand that there are no casualties recorded, but they might not have full grasp of what has happened, because it happened midnight and nobody will know what is happening around the bushes or the forest around that area, because, like I said, Jabo has been relatively peaceful. It's not part of the places where we've heard of a bandit attack before now. But based on the information from the United States government that is based on intelligence, you never can tell what is happening, because I know along that Jabo leading to Kajiji, it's taking you to Gumi and down to even Zulu, Amaga. That road, there's a road that will take you to Maga, where those schoolgirls were adopted in Kebbi State. So anything can be happening around those bush that we don't know. But as for security experts who have carried out intelligence, might know what is going on. So, but as far as this airstrike is concerned, from the communication so far, or from information gotten from locals, told us that there are no casualties reported. But like I said earlier, that the locals might not be in the real picture of what is happening, because they might not have assessed areas where this bomb landed. So they will not have full information of what is really happening. So we're still waiting for government to respond. We're still waiting to hear from government if there are casualties recorded from this attack.
Okay, thank you so much, Nasir Suleiman, for that brilliant report. That was Nasir Suleiman, Arise correspondent in Sokoto State, speaking to us live. Now, let's return to the story, more on the story. Shall we pull off a Punch newspaper? We know that President Trump has spoken in his Truth Social platform about this strike in Sokoto State. He talked about it, and also in Daily Trust this morning, U.S. War Secretary Pete Hegseth thanked the Nigerian government for support on the war on extremism. Nigeria is said to be engaged, or we know that Nigeria is engaged in structured security cooperation with the U.S. in addressing terrorism and violent extremism. And so this led to this precision strike that we are seeing. And let me quote what Hegseth said here. In line with established international practice and bilateral understandings, this cooperation includes the exchange of intelligence, strategic coordination, and other forms of support consistent with international law, mutual respect for sovereignty, and shared commitment to regional and global security. The Americans are here, Benga. What is your thought on that?
Well, it's like the dog that would not listen to the hunter's whistle, if I would say. I think this is a welcome development, because going from what the Minister of Foreign Affairs said, that it's a structured security cooperation by Nigeria and the U.S. government, and this is expected to address, to comply with international law, to also observe the primacy of the civilian population, and also to address issues of protection of the civilian population, and also to the precision of the target driven by joint security and intelligence operation. I think that this is a welcome development, because the U.S. president did send that signal that they will be held to pay. And I think that that statement is categorical and very instructive to create a redefining moment. We cannot continue to watch helplessly to see anyone from any religion, from any race of life, living in Nigeria, to come under siege of mindless killers. Because indeed, these are mindless killers. They are enemies of the nation's interest.
Let me share what one observer said concerning this strike. He has joined us from time to time in Arise, that Emmanuel Ogebe, who was very much involved in what has been going on, including that designation of Nigeria as a country of particular concern. He said, it is instructive that the first direct strikes by America are in Sokoto State, the very same state where during the first term of U.S. President Donald Trump, U.S. Special Forces rescued American hostage Phil Wharton, killing 6 terrorists then. Sokoto is an unusual site for an initial attack because it is not the epicenter of global jihadi terrorism in the northeast, where there was a deadly suicide bombing in Borno State. Nor is it the epicenter of regional jihadi terrorism in the north central, where there was a herdsmen militia attack in Borno State as well. Both attacks by 2 different Islamic groups killed Muslims and Christians, respectively. So he said a lot of things. But on this particular issue, there were some reservations about American involvement. in our security problems by some Nigerians, both Nigerians in the diaspora and Nigerians within the country. For one school of thought, American intervention or involvement will worsen the current situation. For others, it was a welcome development, particularly in light of the fact that they feel that we have a weak government. You might disagree with that. But the strikes are a targeted approach with the Nigerian government heavily involved. So politically, the cooperation allows Abuja and the government to frame the action as a partnership rather than intervention, which is not what a lot of people want to hear. It shows that, at the end of the day, it shows the severity of what we're going through and the limits of the domestic capacity of Nigeria alone to be able to handle what we are facing. While the strikes may deliver short-term technical gains against these groups, whether it's ISWAP or Boko Haram or bandits, they also pose strategic questions about sustainability. How long will these strikes continue? We know that Yusuf Toga, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, did say that further actions will be discussed, but there will still be that question of how long will it continue, especially if such interventions, maybe become very routine or exceptional, we don't know. But ultimately, with all that is happening, Nigeria still has to deal with this majorly by itself, because this is a help that comes from the U.S. and it might not be for many years. So it depends on how this cooperation is organized, or what the agreement, the details of the agreement is. Nigeria will have to bear majorly the burden of handling its own security challenges.
I think the U.S. is not heads in cloud when it comes to its strategic interest in Nigeria and in Africa, especially the Gulf of Guinea and in the Sahel. So they are also there to sustain their primary interest, their economic interest in this area. So there is a lot of deep-seated interest in this joint security operations. And I think the fly in the ointment here is the issue of the question of national sovereignty. So I want to hold the foreign ministry by its word that indeed this security partnership would address the issue of national sovereignty, would address the issue of human rights, would address the issue of the protection, the primacy of the civilian population.
Let's take another story. We know that the Nigerian Upstream Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority boss has resumed office. Her goal, she said, is to grow Nigeria's oil output as well as increase gas production, advance Nigeria's interests in line with the Petroleum Industry Act 2021. As someone who worked in the oil and gas sector for decades, she has promised to drive digitization, transparency, and efficiency. She wants the NUPRC to become the global standard or the gold standard regulator in Africa. Big words in that sector. Do you think she can change the mode?
Yeah, Nigeria is a very peculiar country. We have seen people who came from very reputable institutions, Western institutions, yes, with high-level qualification, and that's copy and paste model just refused to work. So, but in as much I say congratulations to him. He comes highly recommended. When you look at his credentials, he has held several strategic management positions, yes, and he has been in the industry for about 3 decades. So the question of his qualification is not in doubt. And yes, he's been in the industry. So now, looking at the task, according to the Petroleum Industry Act, is meant to enforce compliance, to open up the space for investments to come into the industry, and is to present a level playing ground for these investors to operate. And he said something that is very instructive, that NUPRC is going to be a business enabler for investors and all marketers to thrive in this industry. And he has that Herculean task to reverse years of decline in oil and gas production output. So I wish him the best of luck. He knows what the problem is, so he's familiar to it. He's been in the industry. Decline
indeed. Tough job ahead in an industry that is fraught with banana peels everywhere. Again, having had decades of experience in that industry, understand what is going on, is an outsider not coming from insider rather, not an outsider.
Indeed.
That promise on digitization is one that we should look out for, because for many years there has been the focus on digitizing oil operations so that we know how much oil we sell in this country and how much we are earning. The figures are always conflicting. There are always reservations about what we actually earn, and that is why oil theft also is very high within the country.
Indeed.
Will this new boss be able to carry through that digitization that will be a game changer in that industry? It is yet to be seen. The key risk here is entrenched bureaucratic culture and political interference. I also remember the other day you mentioned about the president himself being the Minister of Petroleum. So there's always that focus on the Minister of State or other officials within the industry. But the president is the Minister of Petroleum. Does he also bear responsibility for what is happening in that sector? We will see.
Okay.
So
I think just to add to it, I think the issue of digitization of that industry, as promised by the new CEO of the NUPRC, is to reduce the human element to the barest minimum in terms of the operations of this upstream sector, which is, I think, very important. And also, I think that it's time for the president to really wake up to his responsibility, not as a designation, but a practical sense of duty to roll up his sleeves and ensure that he gives the necessary political backing to the CEOs of this industry.
There will be need to balance speed with integrity in all of these reforms going on. Let's quickly take a foreign story. Guinea coup leader General Mamadi Doumbouya is expected to win the elections. Citizens went to the polls last Sunday. This is the first presidential election since the military took power in 2021, since ousting President Alpha Condé. General Doumbouya has clamped down on the main opposition and dissent, critics say, leaving him with no strong challenge to win a 7-year term. He has been in power as junta leader and interim president since September 2021. He joined the presidential race earlier this month, contradicting his earlier promise not to run for office after he seized power. Shortly after Guinea's coup in 2021, he had pledged smooth transition to democracy. And he said none of the soldiers will jump into the race. Now we are here, and it looks like he will win the elections. Are we seeing General Sani Abacha? This happens
indeed,
in Nigeria.
General Mamadi Doumbouya is 41-year-old. So it won't come as a surprise when he's exploiting those radical exuberances in governance. And it's quite unfortunate that this is a population of about 15 million people, and I think that half of the population will be participating in this election. That shows the same narrative of voter apathy and the repression of opposition figure. And this constitution, which initially said that it would ban military leaders from participating in this election, now oppositions are saying that, calling on people to boycott this election. So when we say that democracy is in crisis in Africa, it's not a chorus, but a distress call for leaders and stakeholders in the continent to intervene and change the narrative and change the landscape for an inclusive democracy in the continent.
To add to that, we know that soldiers also in Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso equally staged coups and consolidated their grip on power and reneged on earlier promises to facilitate a quick return to democracy. So what we are seeing all over Africa, it has also happened in Nigeria, is an army or soldiers that have become politicized or very political. They taste power and they refuse to return to the barracks. We saw in 1999 former President Olusegun Obasanjo becoming a president. We also saw the late President Muhammadu Buhari, former military leader, becoming also a civilian president. And so you are seeing that all across Africa. So civilians turning into, soldiers turning into civilians. Also, when you go to the National Assembly across the states, you have a lot of soldiers who have now become president. So the question then is, in Guinea now, are we going to see a president who adheres to democratic processes, which are usually slower and painstaking than military fiat and military orders? That would be a huge challenge for him, and it is left to be seen how that will play out in Guinea. The odds are not stacked against him in this election. He's going to win, as we said earlier. We're also going to be looking at whether he's able to bring stability to that country after he wins the presidential election, or if he's announced the winner.
Yeah, especially the issue of the unprecedented level of poverty that has not been seen in many years. According to the World Food Program, that country is a desperate polity that calls for desperate intervention. Well,
definitely on the economy, Guinea has, you know, it's a very poor country, but it has a rich mining sector. So, will he advance major national projects as a foundation to create jobs and improve the lives of people? It has a lot of work on its hands. Those were your headlines for today.